morning, Chicago Cubs fans. We are back with another edition of Cubs Daily. My name is Steven Ryan. The Cubs bats bounced back yesterday to salvage the series in Minnesota with a dominating 8-1 win. We'll talk about that some more. The Cubs are in on a couple of names. Actually, I'm sorry. They're in on one name per sources, and the other, I'm not sure why they're not in on his name. And then we'll go over all your viewer comments. But before we get into all that, just want to give you all a big shout out. Everyone who watches the video takes time out of their day to watch. We truly appreciate it over here at Cubs Daily. Comment your thoughts. I appreciate everyone sharing their opinion on this beautiful game of baseball. And all of those of you who subscribe, appreciate you. And if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button. We appreciate it over here at Cubs Daily. So the Cubs do win the game yesterday 8-1 in dominating fashion. Fun historical note. Pete Crow Armstrong's 2 home runs yesterday made him the only player to have 25 home runs, 25 stolen bases, and 70 RBIs before the All-Star game, which is just wild to think about in this big history of baseball, maybe the most expansive history that we possibly know of. So many different things have happened in baseball, and he is the only player to accomplish that feat. Wow. A lot of players have done 25 and 25. He is the only one to have driven in 7 RBIs as well. The development of Pete Crow Armstrong has been truly, truly amazing for this team, this franchise, and the trajectory in which it is heading. And it all kind of showed yesterday, right? Like, we stopped the bleeding in Chicago, which is always good to see. You want to see the Cubs, when they're losing 2 or 3 games in a row, like, hey, we need to get back right on track. Obviously, you can't lose 2 or 3 in a row in the playoffs, otherwise you're going to be in a very, very dire situation. But either way, the Cubs bounce back 8-1, get some momentum heading to New York, where we can hopefully take care of business against the Yankees. Now, let's talk about some potential reinforcements the Cubs may be in on. The Cubs are actually rumored to be in on Lucas Giolito, the former White Sox. He's currently on the Red Sox, and the Red Sox, although they've just got done winning 7 in a row, are kind of teetering on that edge, right? I didn't put them in my sellers list in yesterday's video, but again, they're kind of teetering on the point like, hey, we have to make a decision, right? Are we committed to trying to get in the wild card this year, or do we want to sell off some of our assets so that we can maybe, just maybe, recoup some prospects and develop for the future? They're getting to that point over there in Boston, but I'm not quite sure how I feel about Lucas Giolito, so I want you guys to let me know in your comments down below. He seems kind of washed. Again, a really, really good pitcher back in the day, but his best days are behind him, unfortunately. And maybe the Cubs get him for cheap, right? Prospect-wise, it doesn't cost them a lot. If that's the case, I'm absolutely in on taking a flyer. But I don't want to be giving up no top 10, top 15 prospect for this guy, who especially might be done in a year or 2. So, curious to see how Lucas Giolito plays out, who the Cubs go out and get. They're kind of connected to everybody, except this next guy for some weird reason. The Cubs are not connected to Adrian Hauser, who's pitching for the White Sox and has pitched very, very well for the White Sox. Just the other day against the Rockies, he was the first White Sox to go at least 8 innings this year. Again, the White Sox are in a different situation. They're struggling a little bit more. But either way, Adrian Hauser has come down to the south side of Chicago and pitched very, very well, which is what you like to see. And honestly, I'm not hearing a lot of rumors on the Cubs being in on him. Is that a guy that the Cubs want? Do they feel like he does solve a problem? Again, right? It's all about the quality of the arm that the Cubs would be getting. There's not a lot of frontline aces that are available, so maybe it is in the Cubs' best interest to go get some supplemental guys like a Giolito, like an Adrian Hauser, right? That might not cost us a lot of prospects up front, but can help solidify this staff for the rest of this season, in which we can go into the 2025 free agency pool and kind of just see, like, hey, what's available? How can we help upgrade this team? That is the question. So, that's the question with Adrian Hauser and Lucas Giolito. I'm not sure if those guys are going to be truly, not breadwinners, but they're going to break the bank prospect-wise, which is probably a good thing for the Cubs, but I'm also not sure if they truly help us win a lot of ball games? That's the real question as well, because you want to get an arm that's going to help you win ball games here in the near future, but also maybe down the road a little bit too. But I think those guys are kind of like band-aids. They don't necessarily cure the problem, but maybe they help the Cubs stay a little bit healthier and get us to October, where we hopefully will pitch well enough to get ourselves to a World Series. Now, let's hop into some of the viewer comments that we had this week. All videos on Cubs Daily are, again, open to your guys' interpretation. You guys are more than welcome to agree with me, disagree with me. It is totally up with you. I will happily go over some of your guys' and gals' comments from the videos earlier on this week. So we had a couple comments that we do want to highlight, and I'm happy to bring those on. So let's start here for this one. This was from a video earlier this week where we did talk about the Cubs trading for Sandy Alcantara, and Philip Janikowski, he's like, for Sandy Alcantara, no. Even a trade for cash considerations, especially no prospects. So it kind of feels like Philip is out on our man Sandy Alcantara, which is totally understandable. He is a former Cy Young Award winner. He does, he's having a rough 2025 year, but again, the Marlins are not that strong of a ball club either, so I don't know how much of it's him, how much of it is the Marlins. Either way, if you're not in on Sandy Alcantara, then yeah, you're probably not going to want to give up a lot of prospects. I'm not sure what the prospect cost would look like. I don't want to give up Owen Casey. I don't really want to give up, any of their top 5 guys for him, but I'm willing to package, 8, 9, and 10, to get the ball moving on it. Again, if they're interested and they're available, but it kind of feels like the Cubs are more interested in Edward Cabrera here going forward, so I'm curious to see what his cost would be as well. But again, if you're not in on moving the prospects, then yeah, Sandy Alcantara is not the guy that you're going to want to see moving over to Chicago. So here's another comment we had, and I kind of teased it, right? Jay Golden 1399 said, "Do not trade Cassie, please." Now, I understand you don't want to ever trade your number 1 overall prospect, right? But if we got to remember, ladies and gentlemen, before the 2025 season started, Casey was our 3rd prospect, and Horton and Shaw have come up, and those were our top 2 prospects before. So technically, yes, Owen Casey is our 3rd best prospect, he's our number 1 prospect, but again, he started the year as the 3rd best prospect, and he's been absolutely smoking the baseball down in AAA, so it's kind of getting to the point where, like, hey, do we need to bring him up to spark the offense, in that sense? What can he bring to the big league club this year? Because if it's more value than a pitcher, then we got to give him a shot, right? The kid absolutely deserves a shot. And again, I don't think they trade Casey unless it's the absolutely right deal and it's going to be a frontline ace name. Like, I don't think they trade him for a Mitch Keller or Merrill Kelly, Zach Gallen. No, I don't think the Cubs trade him for any of that. But if the right name comes along and becomes available, I think Owen Casey's name will be in that deal. So, all right, that's going to do it for Cubs Daily today. Again, we got the Yankees tonight at 6 o'clock. Last 3 games before the All-Star break. I'll be back on Monday with more news, notes, hopefully some more fun trade rumors as well. I hope you all have a great weekend. Enjoy the weather. Enjoy some baseball. Let's get some W's, and I'll see you on Monday.